the study of kinship, a clan is a collection of people who see themselves as descendants of a common ancestor and thereby think of themselves as a group with a shared identity. Clan membership may be traced through the mother or father, but never both. The clan system stands out as the most distinctive feature of Indian culture, just as the caste system is the most prominent feature of Hindu society. In early years and times, the clan system was the mortar that held together the brick, much as the caste system gave sociological cohesion to Hindu society. Apparently, most, but not all, the cultures in India incorporated stringent clan systems. The clan system engendered a number of mandatory rules. Basics of clan system. Tribes and clans persisted into the early days of Indian civilization. Indian religions made clans a part of the new social order it formed. Thus, in Indian civilization, the clan system became integral. As civilization matured over the centuries, with waves of social, cultural and religious transmutations, the clan system persisted as its durable bedrock and did not suffer significant diminishment. The disastrous waves of epidemic disease nearly destroyed all institutions, including the clan system. Nevertheless, the clan system survived the disastrous 1500s in truncated form, losing its mandatory characteristic and hence many of its powerful features. But, though modified, it has managed to survive to the present. Similar clan systems existed in many tribal societies throughout the world. Clan systems also existed in pre-industrial cultures. However, none of these systems dominated their societies, and none proved as durable with strength sufficient to survive the Industrial Revolution and the attendant urbanization to the present day. It is a peculiar example of how a prehistoric cultural trait has been adaptable to many social changes in perhaps a way similar to Hindu castes. Individuals, both men and women, inherited their clan membership from their fathers as well as their surnames. They perceived their clan as their extended families, and all the members of a single clan regarded each other as cousins. From this fundamental perception came the ironclad rule that one must marry outside the clan. To marry someone of the same clan amounted to incest. While clan incest was not as same as brother, sister or parent-child incest, it sufficed to evoke outrage, scandal and criminal sanctions. The marital unit of clan system. The clans operated to determine who may marry whom. This rule applied strictly all throughout history. The rule laid down a simple bar. One could not marry one who belongs to the same clan, but one could marry any person of any other clan. The strictness of the rule declared that one could not even sleep with one of the same clan. All persons, whether male or female, of the same clan recognize each other as cousins. If a man and woman engaged in flirtation with one another, etiquette required that the man directly proclaim his clan affiliation when he introduces himself, and etiquette also forbade him from directly inquiring as to her clan. If the woman found that the man belonged to her clan, she had to acknowledge him as a clan brother immediately after he identified himself in order to prevent any further development of mutual interest. However, this etiquette produced an interesting device which could promote flirtation as well as halt it in appropriate instances. After the man casually mentioned his clan, the woman could remain a discreet silence, which signaled to him that she belonged to a different, hence eligible clan, but simply had no immediate interest in him. If she declared her clan identity, then the man could infer that she might have some interest in pursuing him. If she remained silent, the man could ply his charms until she finally disclosed her clan. If, after a while, she still resolutely refused to disclose her clan, etiquette required the man prudently back off. A bold man might continue the pressure, expecting the woman to disclose her clan if she were of the same clan as he, since women often would not want a man of the same clan to invest of himself emotionally or make a fool of himself. In any event, even a marginally polite man would refrain from asking the woman for her clan identity, and if he did, the woman could write him off as an uncouth bore. The clan system placed a woman at a distinct disadvantage in the realm of divorce. If either party sought a divorce, the logic of the system required the woman to return to her clan. But the logic of the system also dictated that the father raised his children since they inherited his clan affiliation. Only by remaining with their father could children grow up with the necessary rites of passage. The economic unit of clan system. In many of the villages, all the residents were all of the same clan. But in most cases, villages might consist of residents belonging to 2 or even 3 or 4 different clans. In such cases, the clans were nearly always had their own sections or neighborhoods. Ownership of land was communal, not held communally by the entire village or by smaller family units, but by the clans of the villages. Men of the same clan and the same village worked the same land shoulder to shoulder, usually under the leadership of a single elder whom the married men of the group elected from among their own number. In more urban settings, the clans usually dominated in small neighborhoods or even in single apartment buildings. The married men of a neighborhood in a town or city usually collected together and formed a local. This was a lodge or a local which operated as a monthly or twice monthly meeting. Sometimes they obtained a common room where they could meet and play cards, gamble, smoke and entertain. If any of them were unemployed or in trouble, or if any of their families had difficulties, the solution could often be found in the room. A clan brother who had lost his house, his savings or his job might receive money, an offer of work or a place to stay. The cultural unit of clan system. In ancient times, the men and women of the same clan affiliation met for social gatherings, performance of the rituals and just to pass the time. The lodges in peasant villages might amount to nothing more than simple sheds or one-room houses. In the cities, the lodges might be what we would regard as storefronts. Sometimes 2 or 3 clans would unite to acquire a shared lodge facility. Clan affinity made hospitality mandatory. Weddings provided an occasion where 2 clans could come together to jointly perform their rites. The women's clan performed a rite, followed by the rite of the groom's clan. Weddings marked the great adhesion between clans, out of which social unity emerged. The wedding itself became a metaphoric and functional expression of social integration. Each clan had its own unique cultural markers, including its own rites for initiation. The songs and other cultural markers provided great utility in dealing with strangers. 2 people who meet would inquire about one another's affiliation, and if they found they belonged to the same clan, they most likely demonstrated the fact to each other by singing a song together or reciting a short verse typical of the clan. This cemented the natural bond between them, and then they could truly act as brothers. In earlier times, when everyone wore a tattoo, all anyone had to do was display their wrist. The life ceremonies of a clan system. In traditional life, Both boys and girls underwent certain initiation rites at various times in their lives. The girls underwent certain rites determined by the traditions of the female clans. Boys had their initiation rites at the hands of the lodge of the clan. To this day, a boy's father paid for the rites which were held at the lodge, or at least at a place to which all the lodge members were invited to attend and participate. Males underwent several ritual rites of passage as they grew to manhood. The close male relatives of the boy performed the rites along with a priest and only in the presence of other relatives. Every clan had for their boys a naming rite which occurred on the boy's 7th birthday. Women celebrated this rite with the men. It usually involved a happy earlier dinner where gifts were given to the boy. He was crowned with a garland and usually a verse of prayer was chanted by the men. Then a dance was done with the boy put in middle of the room while the women joined hands and danced around the boy with all the men standing in a larger ring outside, clapping their hands, everyone singing. At the age of 14, the boys had a wisdom rite, where, in a sense, the community celebrated the 14-year-olds. The rite was held one time a year on summer day for all the boys turning 14 in that year. Finally, at the age of 21, the boy on his birthday attended another lodge ceremony where the members confirmed him as a full adult member of the clan lodge. He therefore could vote and speak fully in the lodge proceedings. Women in the clan system and the female clans. As members of the male-based clans, women had every right to expect support therefrom in every matter. A man was duty-bound to fight for the honor and protection of a woman of his clan, even one who had long ago married and moved away. Indeed, whenever a married woman found her honor affronted or, more serious, suffered from the crime of a rape or insult, or whenever she suffered intolerable abuse at the hands of her husband or his family, she had the clan as her chief resource. Whenever she faced trouble, she would attempt to return to her paternal home and call upon the male folk to avenge or protect her. In making the appeal, she did not speak of familial bonds. She stirred the men to her aid by evoking the name of the clan. If the woman could not get back to her original home, where her brothers and blood cousins lived, she could seek out clan brothers, men she did not know, men she had probably never seen before, and demand their aid. As custom demanded, the men felt the obligation to help. As a last resort, if she demanded shelter from them, they would not dream of refusing her. And then they had to defend her from any violent attempt by her husband's family to take her back. However, women had their own separate clans, membership in which passed through the matrilineal line. Destruction of the clans. In fact, many natives ceased paying any attention to their clan affiliations. Once they ceased caring, they neglected the initiation ceremonies and then failed to impart the clan identity to their children. Few missionaries adamantly found to suppress clan affiliations since they perceived the links between clan and native faith. People who married natives refused to allow their children to have clan identities. Of course, then, the settlers had no clans and they often wanted to take native women for consorts, mistresses and wives. Their lack of clans confused the natives, but then the local people perceived of the possibility of life without clan, exogamy. In time, therefore, the natives discarded the rule that their ancestors would have found impossible to live without. Many perhaps formed guilty, certainly from lack of faith. Many quit attending clan rites and meetings and abandoned clan practice altogether and were determined to stamp out the clan system and the practice cremation. However, when the cultural assertiveness of the natives had begun to increase, many natives loudly lamented the loss of clan. Those who retained clan identities won the envy of their neighbors and asserted their clan activity as a signet of pride. Then, natives developed a folk rite in which seers divined a person's lost clan identity. Thus, natives whose ancestors had forgotten or repudiated their clans managed to reclaim them. The refusal of a large percentage of the population to participate in the clan system has crippled one of its basic features, that of mandatory exogamy. How can one assert clan exogamy in a society where as many as half the population has no clan? Thus, in the 1900s, the clan system persists in a truncated form, with its ceremonial, fraternal and mutual aid functions surviving, but with the marital function effectively dead. Nevertheless, a taint still attaches, and many native Indians find themselves observing the bar, at least on a gut level. If challenged on the point, all modern Indians will freely concede that no really rational basis ever existed for the clan exogamy rule, and that nothing exists to logically prohibit an intra-clan relationship. Even so, a large number of people will admit it makes them feel uncomfortable. A man will say, "When I meet a woman of the same clan, I know she should be able to ask me for help, and every other member of the clan will look down on me if I don't help her. If I try to court her or get her into bed, I take that relationship down to a regular level and she would no longer feel like she could ask me for help. That wouldn't do." A woman will say, "A clan brother may not be any kind of a blood relative, but we are taught to look to them as if they are. And it just adds a little too much confusion to things if you meet a guy and allow yourself to look at him as a potential lover or husband, at the same time you recognize all the clan links between you." India large kinship groups. In most of Hindu India, people belong not only to co-resident family groups but to larger aggregates of kin as well. Subsuming the family is the Patrilineal, known in northern and central India as the Khandan, kutumb or kul, a locally based set of males who trace their ancestry to a common progenitor a few generations back, plus their wives and unmarried daughters. Larger than the patrilineal is the clan, commonly known as the Gotra or Goth, a much larger group of patrilineally related males and their wives and daughters who often trace common ancestry to a mythological figure. In some regions, particularly among the high-ranking Rajputs of Western India, clans are hierarchically ordered. Some people also claim membership in larger, more amorphous groupings known as Vansh and Sakha. Hindu lineages and clans are strictly exogamous, that is, a person may not marry or have a sexual alliance with a member of his own lineage or clan. Such an arrangement would be considered incestuous. In northern India, rules further prohibit marriage between a person and his mother's lineage members as well. Among some high-ranking castes of the north, exogamy is also extended to the mothers, fathers' mothers and mothers' mothers' clans. In contrast, in South India, marriage to a member of the mother's kin group is often encouraged. Muslims also recognize kinship groupings larger than the family. These include the Khandan or Patrilineal and the Azizdar or kindred. The Azizdar group differs slightly for each individual and includes all relatives linked to a person by blood or marriage. Muslims throughout India encourage marriage within the lineage and kindred, and marriages between the children of siblings are common. Within a village or urban neighborhood, members of a lineage recognize their kinship in a variety of ways. Mutual assistance in daily work, in emergencies and in factional struggles is expected. For Hindus, cooperation in specific annual rituals helps define the kin group. For example, In many areas, at the worship of the goddess deemed responsible for the welfare of the lineage, patrilineally related males and their wives join in the rites and consume specially consecrated fried breads or other fruits. Unmarried daughters of the lineage are only spectators at the rites and do not share in the special foods. Upon marriage, a woman becomes a member of her husband's lineage and then participates regularly in the worship of her husband's lineage goddess. Lineage bonds are also evident at life cycle observances, where kin join together in celebrating births, marriages, and religious initiations. Upon the death of a lineage member, other lineage members observe ritual death pollution rules for a prescribed number of days and carry out appropriate funeral rites and feasts. For some castes, especially in the north, careful records of lineage ties are kept by a professional genealogist, a member of a caste whose traditional task is maintaining genealogical tones. These itinerant bards make their rounds from village to village over the course of a year or more, recording births, deaths, and glorious accomplishments of the patrilineal descent group. These genealogical services have been especially crucial among Rajputs, Jats, and similar groups whose lineages own land and where power can depend on fine calculations of pedigree and inheritance rights. Some important kinship linkages are not traced through men but through women. These linkages involve those related to an individual by blood and marriage through a mother, married sisters or married daughters, and for a man through his wife. Anthropologist David Mandelbaum has termed these feminal kin. Key relationships are those between a brother and sister, parents and daughters, and a person and his or her mother's brother. Through bonds with these close kin, a person has links with several households and lineages in many settlements. Throughout most of India, there are continuous visits, some of which they last for months and include the exchange of gifts at visits, life cycle rites and holidays, and many other key interactions between such relatives. These relationships are often characterized by deep affection and willingly offered support. These ties cut across the countryside, linking each person with kin in villages and towns near and far. Almost everywhere a villager goes, especially in the north where marriage networks cover wide distances, he can find some kind of relative. Moral support, a place to stay, economic assistance and political backing are all available through these kinship networks. The multitude of kinship ties is further extended through the device of fictive kinship. Residents of a single village usually use kinship terms for one another, and especially strong ties of fictive kinship can be ceremonially created with fellow religious initiates or fellow pilgrims of one's village or neighborhood. In the villages and cities of the north, on the festival of Raksha Bandhan, the tying of the protective thread, during which sisters tie sacred threads on their brothers' wrists to symbolize the continuing bond between them. A female may tie a thread on the wrist of an otherwise unrelated male and make him her brother. Fictive kinship bonds cut across caste and class lines and involve obligations of hospitality, gift giving, and variable levels of cooperation and assistance. Neighbors and friends may also create fictive kinship ties by informal agreement. Actually, any strong friendship between otherwise unrelated people is typically imbued with kinship-like qualities. In such friendships, kinship terms are adopted for address and the give and take of kinship may develop. Such bonds commonly evolve between neighbors in urban apartment buildings, between special friends at school, and between close associates at work. The use of kinship terms enhances affection in the relationship. In Gujarat, personal names usually include the word for sister and brother, so that the use of someone's personal name automatically sounds affectionate and caring. There is a sort of fundamental antipathy between history and systems of classification. This, perhaps, explains what one is tempted to call foreign the bounds of the great civilizations of Europe and Asia. There is a remarkable absence of anything which might have reference to totemism, even in the form of remains. The reason is surely that the latter have elected to explain themselves by history, and that this undertaking is incompatible with that of classifying things and beings by means of infinite groups. In tribal and other archaic societies, whether or not they perceive history as a force, historical change still afflicts their societies. Anthropological study has produced a number of proofs that clan systems experience change and mutation. Indeed, a major point of this structuralism is apparently to describe how mythic forms transform as they are diffused between cultures. Nevertheless, the clans persisted because they perfected highly useful social functions, primarily as a satisfactory method of distributing and rationing social goods. The mutual aid may have actually abetted the development of cosmopolitan culture by sustaining a solid system of social security. Certainly, they remained important in historical time for the active support they gave religion, the tradition of mutual aid, and the duty of hospitality, education, and the military. This strict functionalism, however, does little to explain the strength of the clans, since other social structures, for example guilds, religious-based groups, class-based patronage relationships, all have served the same function in other societies. Many have looked at the rule of exogamy as the core, largely because of its sexual nature. Anthropologists in the 1800s stressed how it allocated women among competitive males. Defenders of the clan tradition have always answered by pointing out how the clan system gave refuge, succor, and the right of revenge to women, thus resulting in their protection, security, and protected legal status. Indeed, everyone agrees that violation of the exogamy rule produces the most visceral responses from those pre-modern Indians who lived submerged in clans. Yet, with no apparent sociological, economic, or other functional role for the rule of exogamy, it still persists. One anthropologist has quipped that the function of the clan system is to debunk all functionalist theories in anthropology. The question of the clans will probably always perplex the historian and the anthropologist.